In my imaginary audience, I have Lee and Mr. Rogers and Jen Zier. And so with them in my hypothetical imaginary audience, I wave you welcome. I set a tone and declare, hello, my name is Michael Miller. This is a Michael Miller trademark training video out to you because you're watching. Thank you and welcome. It's meant for Michael Miller Pilates licensed affiliates, licensed presenters, the Core New Core, my patrons, and anyone interested in surviving and thriving as a Pilates instructor. So, gosh, I received an invitation to like a place called the Pilates Center. And it turns out that that place wasn't the place down the road that I worked at for 5 years or the one that opened thereafter down in Austin. But there, I think, around the world, there are many now, places that call themselves the Pilates Center. And my orientation on this broadcast is to give you a point of view and to ask why, or to look at why from the MMP point of view that everyone uses the word center. And for any and all of the reasons that you can come up with for center, okay, those are part of the vast understanding of the word center means. The middle point of a circular sphere is the definition that Google comes up with. The middle point of a circular sphere. Okay? I can point to where the center of Pilates is among all the different Pilates centers. Pilates centers are organizations or studios or businesses that do business out of that place as a center, right? But an MMP that considers Pilates to have an essence of its own, the center is right here. The center is in the grip at the hips, and it's out from that center that everything else emerges, comes from. So when you come from your center, you literally come from your grip at the hips in the MMP point of view. It's from that center that our movement originates. Now, what does he mean holding this up? Well, the only thing this shell has is the ability to rotate around one axis. And within the MMP point of view, there's at least 6 axes that the body has the capacity to engage in a rotational dynamic, and from that create an endpoint of tension from which other endpoints can interact. So, the center of Pilates. the center of the circle. The core is a grip, and it is out of that grip that life, I think, emerges. And in our effort, in our target at control, the quality and the depth of the grip that we develop, not only at our core, but at the other rotational dynamics in our body, can they connect with each other as they've evolved into the capacity of being able to, and fundamentally are structured to. It's not like this is anything new. I'm just trying to hold light to the understanding of. And so I think I covered. There are places called the Pilates Center, new and old, and fascinating as to how and who and when they're named that way. But most importantly, from this broadcast point of view, is the why. And the center is really, the center is at the middle of a circle or a sphere. And we did not evolve into being spherical. We evolved into having width. Having width. Our hips have width. And so why is that? It's the very same reason as this shell. Because the wider you are, the more stable you are, left to right, in your effort to control front to back. Obvious stuff. In my opinion, part of the center that we come out from is intrinsically linked to our observational facility. The ability to observe is part of what feeds into, say, the amygdala and the hippocampus. Major part maybe, but it's part of the information that thinking gets from the outside of thinking world. So, I'm getting long-winded now for no good reason. All right, the location of, okay, so. And in the MMP point of view, because Pilates has an essence of its own, that there is an experience that is the essence, an understanding of that experience, what it is, and what one is reaching for in the pursuit of the experience, and how to get to it, is how to survive as a Pilates instructor. So number 2, you don't do Pilates for the effect. You don't do Pilates for the effect. Don't I have everybody standing up in opposition to that one? I don't know. But in my opinion, the reason to do Pilates is to do Pilates. It is the doing of it that is the pursuit. And everything else is gravy. Everything else is extra. Everything else comes with it. But to get distracted by being focused on the effect rather than the pursuit of what it is might diminish the effectiveness that is possible. All right, Janjir says, what? In MMP lingo, Contrology is complete coordination of body, mind, and spirit. And MMP considers that to be the capacities in the human being of being, thinking, and observing. And those capacities you seek the complete coordination of can be experienced. There is something to be experienced and is distinguishable from it not the experience. And so that makes the MMP point of view very narrow indeed from all the other points of view that are out there. But this is definitely a point of view that is going to outlast you and me and not Gen Zer for a long time. And in a way, Mr. Rogers has passed, and he will always be a reflection of our better natures. So because it's body, mind, and spirit, or being, thinking, and observing, those ing words are present tense continuous, mean it's now and ongoing, and that's what we're looking for. It's tough to maintain, so we dive into, and we'd like to think we could just keep going and stay focused and go deeper and deeper and deeper. But it's in the diving, and the MMP point of view is the reason that we do it. We do it just for the sake of doing it, because the sake of doing it is so impactful for preparing you to be ready for whatever comes up. I'm paraphrasing Joe. So, number 3. In getting the invitation to like this place called the Pilates Center, I responded with an offer, because the participants in the center that I recognized in the picture were much more involved in, perhaps totally involved in, or the embodiment of Pilates as folklore, as word of mouth, and as a unknown, unexplained relics in the attic. Background. I wrote back and made an offer under the presumption and assumption that to explain CT and MMP for $1,000, Skype, paid in advance. And the person wrote back and said, yes, somebody else did this for me, or I would have not made you the invitation. And I was a subscriber of yours a long time ago. I was a subscriber to MMP a long time ago. Making the statement in a way that they had everything from me already a long time ago, and there was nothing more to really get. And so, I'm telling you this about being a presenter and making an offer, and being able to say that, being able to encourage not to overlook CT. I said something like, with CT, you can have whatever, you can promote whatever view of Pilates you wish, but don't overlook CT. And so why is that? That's because CT is biomechanical, and it's universal. It applies to the way it's pointing to a point of view about how the body engages itself to move through space. Care of yours truly. In pointing to it, it needed a name, and so I called it core nutension. And in demonstrating it, you can rotate around your ears and you can rotate through the axis of your arms. Core nutension is oppositional rotation between the axes throughout the body. So, my notes tell me to tell you that CT is universal. It's a matter of fact, like it or not, and you can feel it for yourself. And that's why Jen Zier is here, because you and I have been in this for a long, long time. And yet Jen Zier comes into a Pilates culture that will be absorbed, and the subject will be thought of much differently than the culture in which we were drawn to the subject. So I encourage you, recognize the distinction between CT and MMP. Because in Lee's case, the Pilates world is coming from a point of view that comes from years of heritage and tradition and all kinds of interaction with other teachers and other sources of knowledge. But all that knowledge about Pilates for what it is has no exploration, because within the folklore there is no explanation. So Jen Zier is here, and I'm pointing to Jen Zier when I say there's a point of view that's been around for at least 20 years. My book, The Year 2000, self-published, full of flaws, but it comes out with a point of view other than folklore, other than word of mouth. It's a point of view based on a theory that there's an essence to what Pilates is in and of itself. And in that theory, the Pilates center is right there. And that, well, I say it wrong though, right? I said it wrong. I gotta do better on Facebook. The center of Pilates is not a location, it's a condition. And the condition is an involution, a grip at the hips. Muscularly, that's what's going on. There's rotational dynamic at the hips, and off of that huge rotational dynamic, others play off of it. The oppositional rotation between axes sets up a tension, and it's from that tension that you get to uniform engagement of the musculature. And that's just a fact of the biology because of the physics. Core nutension is for every human being. They have the ability to control rotational dynamic at these different axes. And in so doing, take on the load of the body, which is a water balloon trying to swim through an ocean of air. It's heavy, and the more uniform you can engage your musculature, the lighter you are, and the more you engage in the whole drama of gravity and being in the moment to mitigate your load and gravity by being uniformly engaged in a uniform field. I would love to stick around until 4040 at least, just to see what comes of field theory. But alas, life can't live forever. Read between the lines and see behind the curtain. Connect the dots. Make the distinctions or face extinction. Add 2 and 2. Know how to do that. Great lesson. A very refined aristocrat offered to make a presentation. They said, oh no, I already know everything about that. And yet not recognizing a distinction between CT and MMP. And CT, no matter what your calling is or your point of view of Pilates is, or anything else for that matter, CT is just holding light to the knowledge of how the body engages itself to move through space. Direct your thinking. Geist.